that you have. They also help in information filtering, which basically would attempt to recommend some information which would likely fit to a particular user. The main components are the users, the items, and also the ratings that either a user gives to a particular item. They are categorized according to the interaction that is there between a user and an item, and also the characteristics of these particular users and the items. So the various types that are there, and these ones I've looked at them in terms of those that are applied in the career pathway selection. So we have demographic, filtering, recommender models. These ones will basically look at or will consider the age, the location of a particular person. Then for knowledge-based, these ones will require the knowledge, which may be explicit knowledge or implicit knowledge. And they also categorize under concept-based, case-based, and ontology-based. Then we have content-based recommenders. So for content-based recommenders, these one recommend items to users based on the preferences and also similarities that are there between this particular user and the item. Then we have collaborative filtering, which is classified as model-based and also the memory-based, with memory-based having user-based and the item-based. And lastly, we have the hybrid recommender model. These basically integrate all the other techniques, like we have a combination of knowledge-based, content-based, being formed to be a hybrid, but with variation in terms of weighted hybrids, hybridization, switching, cascade, mixed, feature combination, feature implementation, and also the meta level. So there are research that has been done on recommender models, application in the career pathway selection, and we have others who have come up with models, recommender models for career pathway selection. And these are literature of some of the research that has been done depending on the recommender model, the various metrics they have used, the algorithms, and also the methodology, plus the number of records that have been used in the data set. So we have for recommenders, there is hybrid. We have those others that have come up with hybrid filtering models, those that have come up with content-based filtering models, and the collaborative and knowledge. The differences in this is in terms of the metrics that you have used, the algorithm, and also the methodology. So for the discussion, because we have looked at career pathway selection, recommender models, the ones that have been used is in terms of the weaknesses that are there for those particular models, plus the strength, of course, because if someone has something as a strength, there must be a limitation or a weakness for it. So for the content-based, these focus on the similar items or finding similar items that is based on the user preferences and ratings. But the main limitation for it is that it needs to have ratings for it to be able to be used. Then for knowledge-based recommender, they use knowledge graph and the multi-objective optimization so that it can be able to generate appropriate recommendation, basing it on the user's background and goals. Now the limitation in this is that it's a bit complex when it comes to using the knowledge graphs to be able to enable you with the recommendation or the recommendation to be made. Then for collaborative filtering, we use the preferences of the user and the actions that can be able to suggest products that are similar between the various users. So it's simple, accurate, and scalable, but requires a large data set for it to be used, and also faces challenges of sparse data, that is numerous data, and also the challenge of having a new user because you require ratings rankings for the particular user. Then lastly, we have hybrid filtering recommender. This one has used a combination of either content-based, knowledge-based, or collaborative filtering to be able to recommend and then helping it to improve on the accuracy. So from these, basically hybrid has majorly been used for career pathway selection. So in conclusion, recommenders are important when it comes to the competency-based education because they provide learners with personalized recommendation for the careers, it's in suggestions like career pathways, also career guidance, job opportunities among others, because as you progress in career learning, of course the end product will be you getting a job or even self-employing yourself in the particular career path that you've chosen. Then there is also need to incorporate additional data, how to use different algorithms, and also being able to address challenges that are there for a new user using the particular system, and also constructing of the knowledge graphs. So future research directions will be having to expand and also evaluate various samples that may be there in terms of the data set, have new types of recommendations, we consider them, and then address the security concerns that may be there, and handling the student profiles, that is information pertaining to the students. Then additionally, you should have description should be included, explanation and also feedback mechanism, so that you can be able to enhance the experience of the users, so that you can be able to have confidence in the recommendations that have been given. So these are some of the references that I've used. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Let us appreciate Frida. Thank you very much, Frida. As we switch to the next presenter, that is Ruth Kibendi, I can take one. If there's any question or comment to Frida. Yes, there's a question here. The next presenter, please, I hope you're ready. You get closer.
Thank you. Mine is not a question, it's a comment. It's just to congratulate Frida for the good work she's doing, and especially in the new era where we are implementing a competence-based curriculum, which most of us have no idea of the direction the curriculum is taking us, and especially those who are parents in the pioneering classes. I know you know the confusion we are all facing in terms of making choices, even of what you want your children to take. And of course, you know, as a parent, every time you want to give the best to your child so that they're not frustrated at the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing this project being implemented, not only in Mary University, but I hope the government will be able to pick this up so that we as parents will be guided in terms of how we are advising our children to choose their career. So this is an interesting research, and I love it. Thank you, Frida.
Thank you.
And your supervisors.
Thank you very much, Frida and Jordi, for that comment. I was reserving my comments because I'm a victim of the pioneer classes. But it's good it has been brought out, but it's okay, we shall swim through in the confusion, and ultimately we shall have something very valuable. Next, we're going to still be being taken back by the ladies of blockchain. We had a blockchain presentation in the morning session, but this afternoon we still have been another review of the blockchain applications. But this time around we're being taken to libraries. This is one of the disruptive technologies that we've been having in the world, and seemingly it's cutting across all the fields that there are. So welcome, Ruth, to make a presentation. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Ruth Kibendi, and this research has been done in collaboration with Dr. Amos Chege and Dr. Amos Omamo. So it's a quick review of blockchain applications in academic libraries, and as has been mentioned earlier, blockchain technology is emerging as a disruptive force across industries. So as libraries and information professionals, we have to be alert on what is happening and explore potential applications of this technology to our field. I'm grateful that there was an earlier presenter on blockchain earlier, so I don't have to go to the details of blockchain as a distributed ledger that is immutable, transparent, and decentralized. Basically, in plain English, you can assume that you are looking at one event and all of you have been hired to count the birds that are crossing here, and each of you has just to note it. the number of birds that are crossing. So if they cross 2, you write 2. So that's the meaning of the word ledger. Ledger is a receipt. Then it's distributed, so everyone is writing it. Then it's transparent. There's no hiding it. What all of you is doing is visible. And then it's immutable, because for you to corrupt the system, if 2 birds passed there and you wrote 3, the rest, everybody saw 2 but you saw 3. So if you want your record of 3 to be valid, then you have to corrupt 50 plus 1 of us to record that we saw 3 for your record to be valid. So that basically means the record becomes immutable. And then it's decentralized. Everybody, everywhere, can do that observation and record, and usually there's a small reward for it, which is usually known as the transaction fee that is paid to the people participating, or rather the machines participating in this observation. So this technology is disruptive because of its nature: distributed, immutable, transparent, and decentralized. Now this is an example of a blockchain ledger of one of the most popular chains, that's the Ethereum chain. And you can see there, every transaction is recorded in a block, and every detail of the transaction is recorded. So you cannot be able to hide anything. One of the uses of this is Bitcoin. The Bitcoin technology is actually built upon this, which enables us to finally be able to transfer money using technology. You can imagine trying to send money using email. That will result in the double spending problem, because when you send an email, you remain with a copy. So now you can imagine me sending you 10 bob and remaining with 10 bob. So this technology enables such kind of applications. So how can we use this technology in library? And that's what this review sought to find out. So the objective is to investigate the applications of blockchain in academic libraries, to see whether there are specific library-specific blockchain applications currently implemented, and the potential benefits and challenges that would be encountered in such an endeavor. So this was a desk review methodology with searches in literature across scholarly databases such as Google Scholar, EBSCOhost, Taylor Francis Wiley, and specific websites of sites that were using this technology. So this is the findings, that blockchain technology could be utilized in creation of special collections using non-fungible tokens. So the first potential application of this is creating special collections of libraries. So in this context, a special collection is a well-curated collection of rare materials. Like in this case, for example, the Turinchepe artifacts. So we could create a collection of those artifacts as NFTs, that is non-fungible tokens. A non-fungible token, as an application of blockchain, allows us to monetize. So we are able to sell or undertake purchase of this kind of assets, which was previously not before. You can imagine yourself putting an image of yourself on your website and saying it's for sale. Anyone could download it and claim that that's the image. But with blockchain, your specific copy is authentic and verifiable on the blockchain. The second potential application is in publishing, whereby the books and agreements between authors and publishers could be embedded in the blockchain, and authors receive their royalties in a transparent manner. The third application is potential application in fundraising through auctioning. This is interrelated with the first application of NFTs, whereby the NFTs, instead of just being used as a museum, can be used to be able to raise auction. An interesting case of this is institutions using it to auction some of the theses in their institutions that have led to award of Nobels. The other one is its potential application in transparent peer review. The peer review process sometimes is shrouded in darkness. You never know the biases that lie in between. So with blockchain, there's transparency embedded in it. The other potential application is used in information literacy endeavors as libraries, whereby awards are transparently given as merits in the blockchain. And finally, we could have metaverse-powered games that that facilitate learners to learn new ways of harnessing information. Now, what follows here are use cases, snapshots of use cases in real world of this. This is an NFT of hairstyles from Ethiopia in a project known as Strong Hair. So in this project, this lady from Ethiopia has harnessed unique hairstyles in Ethiopia and placed them as NFTs, and you can see she's selling them at very, very expensive prices. For example, if you know the value of 30 ETH right now is about how much? And Ether, anyone in blockchain, how much is Ethereum? So that's a lot of money currently in dollars. Then there's this project called Publica that is using NFTs for books. So in this project, the authors and publishers use blockchain to be able to engage in transparent book processing. Then there's LibChain. This is experimental, and in this experimental project, the author tries to disrupt the library processes by using blockchain to be able to issue borrower cards and resources that are electronic in a transparent way, which is currently a little bit hard with what we have, the technology we have currently. This is museums that are already using non-fungible tokens to be able to do this. And this is my own exploration of this technology, whereby I use artificial intelligence to create a book called Daring and Divine. You can find it in the Amazon Kindle. And the images in the book are sold as NFT in a market called Rariboard. So you can check that out. So this is the news on Berkeley that's auctioning NFTs to be able to fund research. So these are novel uses or potential novel uses that we could borrow from and use in the library. Okay, as for the discussions, this technology is still in very, very early stages, and as you can see, I'm giving examples from varied industries. So there are legal concerns. Fortunately, this current government, with its bottom-up approach, has at least acknowledged the blockchain by starting to tax online transactions. So if you are in trading Bitcoin, then you are likely to be taxed. For me, that's a positive move because it means finally we are acknowledging this as an asset class, and that means sooner or later the technical will catch up with us. The other concern is on energy consumption, which is being addressed by better blockchain technologies that are able to use less energy. For example, Polygon chain that is much, much more economical compared to Ethereum. And finally, there are no standardized protocols, and the regulatory frameworks, as we've said before, are yet to catch up with this technology. So in conclusion, there's a lot of potential for blockchain application in real life for us as library and information professionals. And as academicians, we should actively engage in research and collaboration to be able to harness this technology. Thank you very much. These are some of the selected bibliographies that were used to conduct this task. Thank you.
I appreciate you. As we welcome the next presenter, I will be taking one or two questions and comments to Ruth. And I can see there's a hand up there. This is very interesting, actually. And especially on the NFTs, you know, I was looking at it, and you know, my son calls them on my hair. Because however much I comb my hair, it is an effort in futility. It's uncomparable. So I think I can start harnessing this as an NFT, and I will have time. Thank you very much. Let's have a question from.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth. That was a good presentation, very interesting. My question is simply, would you give us examples of universities, probably, or institutions in Kenya that have been able to implement the blockchain technology in libraries? Thank you.
Thank you very much. At the moment, to the best of my knowledge, there is no institution that is currently utilizing blockchain in academic libraries, and I intend to be the first in this institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We need to hasten this innovation. We need to have the second question or a comment.
Yes, thank you, Ruth. Mine is just a question, and maybe on what you think, because at least you gave kudos to the current government that they have now gone to taxing even what blockchain or guys who are involved in blockchain. My question is, because controlling disruptive technology is very hard. And of course, I know people, they are coming up with policies to be able to control what we are doing with disruptive technology, where blockchain is one of them. And one of the side effects is policy. The legal framework of disruptive technology comes in with policy, and the other one is security. What is your thought? And what would you advise the government to do so that they take care of disruptive technology in terms of the legal framework and the security aspect?
Thank you very much, Dorothy. I'm happy we are together with you in this area. And my take is we can borrow back from where we came from. When internet came as a disruptive force with website, and back in the 2000s with us hearing the millennium bug, it's technology, it is the law that has had to catch up with technology. So my personal opinion is that we will continue with the innovations, and then the laws and the policies will catch up with us.
Yeah, I still can take more. This seems to have elicited some quite interesting questions here. To our audience, these questions are not addressed to the staff and lecturers. It's an open discussion, so I don't feel pressed. I would appreciate actually to take more questions from you, because you are the innovators. Yes, so let's have more questions as we wait for the next presenter to log in.
Thank you, Dean and Ruth. Now that you have Dean has incited us, non-IT people to now think about their problems. My problem is pastoralist and livelihood. And you have all witnessed this time. Even those who don't know who are pastoralists now, you know. After you have seen so many carcasses of our cows and camel on the TV. Now, is there a blockchain can be used to reduce this pain?
Thank you very much. Out of the libraries in the field. So please, can you respond to that?
I've been taken out of my comfort zone. Yeah, but the benefits of blockchain, as I mentioned earlier, include transparency, immutability, and the distributedness nature of it. So the death of cattle arising out of climate change and blockchain technology. Dorothy, please, yes. Thank you, kindly assist.
Thank you, Daktari. I think at least let me assist Ruth, because we are doing research in the same area. True, there is a case that has already been carried out on nomadic and their movement, where we are using blockchain on the same to be able to monitor their movement and predict what they are going to do. Because normally, at least I know with the nomadic, they move based on pasture and feeding of the animals. And that is where they go and settle, and that is now one of the key interests that we are having in blockchain, where we are able now not only to, as I said in the morning, don't look at blockchain only being applicable in terms of finance. You know, the business world are the ones who are really using blockchain because of the money aspect and the Bitcoin. But we have other distributed ledgers where now we are able to monitor climate, and now we are also monitoring the nomadic movement. That is one of the greatest studies we have, and which is now being carried out currently.
Thank you very much. There was also a question I would be very much interested, especially on the forking of the block, especially from a cow, which is a block of forks and several cows. That would be interesting. Thank you. Let's have another question.
Okay, thank you for the good presentation. I didn't follow the whole of it, but just interested as my colleague. Apart from the library, for example, I deal with a lot of sensitive data on students, and when you talk about a system that cannot can keep data that cannot, I'm not very sure because I was not at the beginning, that cannot really be manipulated, data that cannot be hacked. Can we also have some applications of the same in managing the many sets of data we have in the university, especially examinations and students' data. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That is a very plausible use for blockchain. And when you talk about blockchains, the ones that I've shown you there are public blockchain. There's potential for exploring private blockchains, which then extends the use of blockchain so that data can only be used and seen by eyes that need to use and see it. So when we explore private blockchains, then blockchain technology can very plausibly be used even in the issue of fake certificates. Because now your authentic data is recorded on the blockchain, so you don't need classmates to authenticate that so-and-so was my classmate, therefore I went to school. Because that is a transparent, immutable record with timestamps. The timestamps are permanent, you cannot delete them. So if you want to fake that you came to university in 2002, it will not be possible because the timestamp will show the current record. So yes, it is a plausible use for blockchain. It's still academic record management, specifically certain sets of data that you do not want to ever change. Blockchain technology would be a perfect use case.
Thank you very much. This is an interesting one, but I'm afraid I don't have the luxury of time, but 1 minute. I know both of you are in blockchain, so please just give the mic. 1 minute, I'll be cutting you short.
Yeah, Registrar, there's some work that is being done by Strathmore. They're leading in that. In fact, led by Dr. Sevilla. They're doing something on the same for management of both certificates and academic records, which they are now having, as Rhoda said, private permissioned. So for you to be able to access, it is private within their network, and then it is permissioned, which means you're given some specific keys to be able to access it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dorothy. In the interest of time, and since we are having a presenter who is online, Christine, can you hear us? Okay. Christine, can you hear us? Christine, unatusikia? Onyambo Christine. Onyambo Christine. Well, it's okay. We can try to reach her out on phone. At least she can get active on the Zoom platform. But meanwhile, we can continue the discussion not only on a blockchain. She logs in because this is doubling up with all that. We had a presentation on IoT, sensor-based farming. We had something to do with personalized adaptive system, that is recommender systems and all that. Those are some of the presentations that we had. So this is an open discussion. You can bring any of those, not necessarily on the blockchain issue in this case. So let's have it open as we wait for Christine to get on board to make our presentation online.
Thank you. My name is to Frida on the recommender models. Now I can speak. I'm just interested as a lay person now.
Can you hear me?
As a lay person, how do I access it?
Just a minute, sorry. Yes, Christine, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Christine?
One of you can be muted. I think it's taking you
From this side, or which one is it?
You can also chat. You can chat and say that.
We can be following the question here.
Yes, you can pass the mic to Frida to respond.
So Frida, as a lay person, how do I access? I'm also a victim with CBC. So I don't know even the career, I don't even understand it. So if there's a way that, as an end user, yeah, I would really appreciate, or some use case, I don't know, the practical part of it.
Let me add another one. Is a follow-up, Frida? Do we have, you said there are mathematical models. You didn't present to us any mathematical model. You wanted to know what kinds of model, how do they appear mathematically? I would be curious to see. Is it an expression, is it a system of equations, or how does it appear, these models?
We are the people who are mutant.
You're able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Can you hear? Can you hear?
We can hear her from there.
Have you responded? Please pass the mic. We are waiting for her to respond so as we move to her next.
Thank you. Now, to answer Ruth's question, assessing the recommender. Basically, what happens, there are algorithms that are created, then there's a new user interface that a user is supposed to interact with, whereby, for example, if it's career pathway selection, you specify your interests, it has data on the interests, you specify your goals, and it's supposed to give you a suggestion, maybe a career path that you're supposed to take. For example, I may give an example for the CBC. At grade 9, the learners are supposed to choose career pathways, either in sports, STEM, and there's the social sciences. So in these, if a learner, the model will be developed using an algorithm, but the interaction bit will be an application, which is basically a system, where now the user or the learner is able to enter goals or interests, and then the recommendation is going to be made for him or her. Then to answer Professor's question on the mathematical model, what happens basically, of course, there are algorithms that are used, and these algorithms have mathematics in them, which are basically formulas or symbols that are normally used. So I didn't give any of the model because these are a review paper, so I didn't specify the various mathematical models that have been used for that. I was only looking at the various types of recommenders that have been applied in the career pathway selection, basing it on the various algorithms. I didn't go into specifics of giving the various algorithms. The algorithms are there with mathematical models with them in terms of the formulas that have been used.
Okay, thank you very much, Frida, for that. I don't know whether now you're communicating. Christine, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think it's an issue with the headphones.
Okay, now we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, because I got rid of the headphones. I think it was the issue with the headphones.
Thank you very much for that. Now you can be able to run your slides.
Okay.
And we are giving
You have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay.
So please feel free and go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christine Onyango, and my presentation is on the effects of on-the-job training techniques on employee performance. The research problem with the need to maintain a competitive edge and cases of underperformance having been reported in the state organization, I was motivated to carry out this research. And even though research has been carried out in the same area, most of the researchers focused more on developed countries, and I decided to focus on a developing country. The main objective was to identify the effect of on-the-job training techniques on employee performance, and the specific objectives were to determine the effect of job rotation, coaching, mentorship, and internship techniques on employee performance. The theories that guided this study were one, expectancy theory by a gentleman known as Victor Broom, And he says that people's motivation is actually influenced by the expectations of the outcomes. And therefore, people tend to be more motivated if they know that their efforts will lead to desired outcomes. And likewise, are likely to be less motivated if they actually know that even though they put in more effort, it's not going to result to the desired outcome. Second theory is goal-setting theory by Locke and Lothar. And it says that performance can be enhanced by setting clear, precise, and challenging goals. This is because employees tend to be more challenged, or tend to be more motivated when the goals are challenging compared to when you give them easy goals. The third theory is social learning theory by Albert Bandura. And Bandura tells us that actually people learn by observing and imitating what others do. And it's therefore fundamental for organizations or employers to cultivate a culture of interactions so that the more experienced employees can be able to interact with the less experienced or the new employees in order for them to build up on their skills and on their knowledge. And my last theory was cognitive workload theory, Sweller. And Sweller actually acknowledges that people have different learning abilities, and in that manner they're able to comprehend and understand information differently. So it's quite vital that when you're coming up with training methods, come up with precise and specific requirements that are tailor-made or unique to the different individuals in order to minimize cognitive workload, or what is most popularly known as work-related stress. Moving on to my conceptual framework, I have the independent variables, which is the various job techniques, training programs, and the sub-variables are slightly under. And dependent variable is employee performance, with the indicators as shown on our screens. On data analysis, interpretation, and presentation, I had a 90% response rate. On reliability test, a pilot study was conducted, and with all the variables, we had an over 7%, making the study reliable. Moving on to the demographics, a study on the participants showed that most of them were between the ages of 31 to 40, which is a 42%. And this one depicts an organization with most people having been at the peak of their career, with vast experience and knowledge. Then moving on to the work experience, it shows that majority have work experience of between 7 to 11 years, with a 39%. And this one also indicates an organization that is diverse in terms of the workforce, and that is highly skilled, highly knowledgeable, and experienced. And the number tends to decrease with age. Moving to the highest level of education, most of the respondents actually had a college degree. It's an organization that's full of intellectuals. And then moving on to the on-job training techniques offered by the organization, a majority actually received the internship with that 28%, followed slightly by job rotation, and then mentorship, and lastly, coaching. And then on the analysis of the study variables, job rotation on my left, and coaching, and then moving on to mentorship, and then the internship, And then furthermore, moving on to our dependent variable, which is employee performance. Based on the values that we've actually seen, we can come to the conclusion, given that job rotation has an average mean of 2.90, pushing 2.89, mentorship on 2.88, and internship on 2.62. And finally, our dependent variable with 4.19. Come to the conclusion as it shows that most of the respondents actually agreed to most of the statements presented on our questionnaires, with just a slight disagreement with like 2 or 3 statements, one based on job rotation, that job rotation actually does not lead to job satisfaction and employee engagement. And they also differed that internship doesn't actually guarantee you post-internship employment, and it doesn't improve you as a brand. Moving on to correlational analysis. This one shows the relationship between the variables, both the independent and the dependent variables. The values is shown. We can come to the conclusion, based on the p-value, that there's a significant correlationship between all the 4 techniques with employee performance. When we move ahead with our model summary, which also shows the relationship between the predictors and the dependent variable, with R being at 0.408 and our R square at 166. This one also shows that there's a correlationship between the predictors. There's a positive but rather weak correlationship between the predictors and the dependent variable. Moving ahead to the ANOVA, with our F ratio at 3.685 and the significance of 0.09, we can come up with the conclusion that the model is actually significant and appropriate. And lastly, on our coefficients, with the value as shown, the significance levels, it also shows that there's a relationship, but here it's worth noting that a change in the predictors, a unique change in the predictors will actually lead to a change in the dependent variable, holding all other variables constant. Also worth to note that in the correlationship, there's also a certain percentage, or there are certain factors that are likely to influence performance, employee performance, that has not been captured in this study. So I can even be seen in our ANOVA, but there's a 16.6% variance, with the other 86.4 that needs to actually be studied. On the discussion of the research findings and conclusion, as I had stated earlier, most of them actually agreed that there's an agreement with all the statements that were provided, with a slight agreement on job rotation and on internship. Then lastly, coming to our recommendations of the research study, we came to the conclusion that actually there's need for organizations to prioritize and invest on coaching, mentorship, and internship programs as a way to improve employee performance. To look on other strategies or measures that can be used to improve on job satisfaction and employee engagement. And looking on to the research implications and findings, the findings can be used as a recruitment and selection tool to come up with a training needs analysis. And this one will help the employers to come up with training programs which are tailor-made to suit the different unique individual needs of the organization and the employees. It can also be used to develop performance appraisals, and employers need to cultivate a culture for learning environment. And lastly, on recommendations, there is need to assess the long-term effectiveness of on-the-job training techniques on employee performance. And then a comparison can also be carried out between the different techniques offered by employers to determine the ones that are more effective. There's need also to consider supervisor support in order to determine the effectiveness of the studies, of the method, And then also the organization culture is quite important here, because organizations that are pro and against training, so that one can actually affect the performance. There's also employee perception, expertise, and feedback. Employers need to put that in, need to consider that in order to identify areas that need progress, and also provide feedback. And lastly, cultural influence in terms of beliefs, value, and norms. That marks the end of my presentation.
And thank you very much, Christine, for your presentation, right on time. If it's okay with you, we would appreciate to see your face, if it's in order with you. Meanwhile, I'll be inviting questions on your presentation. For people who we have quite a number of experts in HR business, but it's open because you're talking of employee engagement. So please, if you've got a question, kindly indicate by show of hand, so at least the person with the mic can get closer to you. But allow me to go first, and I want to know, you taking a sample of G4S. Why G4S? And if this research is based on G4S, can we be able to generalize the same to all the other organizations? That is the first question.
I think I get all the wordings correct, but I think I got G4S. And as I stated in my problem statement, there are issues of underperformance that have been reported within, not outside within the organization. And I was prompted to carry out this research, and also the fact that G4S is an international company, having being a service provider in our own country here, Kenya, and my research was on a developing country context.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. You'll be getting another question from one of the audience members. Craig, Dr.
Thank you, Christine, for the good presentation. We are eager to learn from your presentation a number of issues. One, you've chosen to do the effect of on-job versus performance.
Sorry?
You have chosen to investigate the effect of on-the-job training and the performance of the selected firm. The first question is, do the organization have any other type of training type or techniques that is off the job? And if that is the case, then it leads to the next question. How do you differentiate the effect of the on-job and the off-job on the performance of the organization? This will link it to the first one, because if the organization do not have any other, do not use any other techniques in training, then that you don't need to belabor on number two. A link to that is, you did a case study of G4S. For how long have you studied? How long have you conducted this research for it to pass for a case study? I hope you are noting them so that I just combine. Another one into that is what is the contribution of mentorship as a technique vis-a-vis those other variables? For example, you used coaching, you used internship, and there's mentorship. I think there's another one. Empirically, how did you segregate in your study that the following are contribution of coaching, the following are contribution of mentorship, the following are contribution of internship, whereas we know those three are just overlapping techniques. Actually, all of them are variables of mentorship. Still, internship is part of coaching, and coaching is a subset of mentorship. So, in your data collection, how did you ascertain that you've given us the contribution of each of them? But in the real sense, all the three are part and parcel of each other. Thank you.
My apologies first because there's a lot of breaking. I'm not able to speak all the words, but like the question on, I think, was it, why is the organization, I didn't speak on the off-job training techniques, is it?
Can I repeat? Can I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
We can go one by one. Why do you choose on-job training? Do the organization have any other techniques in training its staff? We can stop there. G4S, do they train its staff using on-job techniques only, or there's also off-job techniques?
There's a problem with the connection. I don't know. Some words are breaking. I can't quite hear the sentences clearly.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's clearer now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. The question is,
Huh?
You are doing a study based on G4S. Do they only do on-job training, or there is off-job training? And that is the first question.
Yep. It's clearer now?
Yeah, I can hear. Actually, the organization does offer both. As in this case, I focused on the on-job training techniques.
And so that is why now the second question follows. How do you therefore distinguish the contribution of the two techniques on the performance of the organization? If both of them are available and applied.
Okay, if both of them are available and applied, probably I'll need to look at that so that I also determine the effectiveness on the off-job training techniques. Because in this case, honestly, I focused on the OJT, so coming up with a conclusion might not be conclusive. So I'll allow that for further investigations and probably come up with a better answer next time.
Okay, then about the length of the study with G4S, just for it to pass for a case study, how long have you been with the organization conducting the research?
A period of around 6 months, and that's actually a limitation because it was actually a short-term period, and also might not be able to come up with the desired result, might not be able to come up with the conclusion that we need. And that's why the study is open for further analysis in order to determine the long-term effectiveness of on-the-job training techniques on employee performance.
Thank you. In the interest of time, let's just look at the last one. The three techniques, in my opinion, is overlapping: coaching, internship, and mentorship. Maybe you need just to satisfy yourself that the data you collected could not become redundant at certain point, because elements of coaching, mentorship, and internship could give a similar effect. So that is something maybe you consider, because that the research is already done. Thank you.
Noted. Noted.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'm still having more for you, so please stay put. Thank you for joining us. That is why we're having this discourse. So I'm taking more for you, so please, because we are using a laptop, I request the next person to just join me there, because I think you're getting us clearly from this point.
Sorry, I didn't quite get you again.
I'm saying I'm giving you more questions, but I hope you're getting us clearly from the laptop.
Yeah. When you move to the same like it's much more clearer.
Okay.
Hello, Christine.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well. You are looking at an employer.
Okay.
Now, this employer wants to know, and this, by the way, your research is a very good one, because in any organization, we would like to know the best techniques that we can use to improve, the best techniques we can use in training our employees so that we can improve productivity. So I had also the same question like my former colleague who has asked you, how do you differentiate between mentorship, internship, and so on, and the length of time it took for you to study these three techniques, these on-the-job techniques. But I want to hand to that. In your study, you used correlation. You analyzed using, you used correlation, which means you compared the level of strength of the relationships. But as an employer, I'm interested in the influence of each of one of these techniques, where you, in the regression that you used there. I didn't get it clearly. Which of these techniques actually is either more popular, or which one would you advise me as an employer that I should use in developing my employees? Do you have a straight answer on which of these techniques we should use as employers, now that G4S is an international company?
That one will, okay, we can't really point to one particular one unless I'm looking at this one in G4S, whereby it showed that job rotation was much more popular. But in terms of other employers, I think this will differ because it depends with the different unique needs of the organization. So what actually works for G4S does not necessarily guarantee that it's going to work for you. So you probably as an organization need to go back and determine a training analysis, a TNA, training needs analysis, and then after that you come up with the different needs that the different employees need, and then are you able to come up with a method that will be suitable to the different needs of both the employees and the organization. So in this case, we can't come up with a conclusive answer or answer that what works for G4S will work for you.
Okay, so that's all right. Now I also wanted to find out the performance, the indicators of performance or measures that you used in the performance. Which are the key ones? For example, in G4S employees, if you look at them, how do you gauge this? These are the indicators of a person who has performed or has improved in performance. Are these indicators uniform? For example, do you use the same gauge, the same indicators to say general manager in this area and the cleric officer in this other area? Do you use a similar gauge or measure, or you use the different ones in your study?
I use different ones.
Or use them. I hope you identify them or you isolate them in your research. It is very important. There is something else I have learned yesterday when I was listening to many presentations. One of them, and we take it for granted, is that sometimes we are not able to differentiate like educational levels. You see, when you measure our performance and we are different in the positions we hold in organizations, and you use the same gauge, it does not really bring out the result, a very good results or very valiant results. The other thing is when it comes to gender, for instance, people would want to know, for example, like if you have a number of, like in the respondents, we have 100 females and 120 males. We'd also like to know in the results, how did they respond? Because there's something probably, there's a characteristic that the females may have, and which is not found in the male respondents. So that is also something that I feel that researchers we should not be avoided, because most of us in social sciences, we have just been just saying, I interviewed 20 gentlemen and 50 ladies, without in the results now saying how they responded, because from there we can easily get a very good conclusion. We can make a very good conclusion from our gender differences. So others, thank you very much for your presentation. I like it. As an employer, I will try to look at them. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine, for that. As the employer leaves, they are all in glasses. I'm just acting as an internet, but they all look the same on the screen. So I'm ushering in the last one, just to give you a few questions.
Christine, how are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Yeah, so this one will not be very difficult to remember. This is your supervisor. I want to thank you very much for choosing to participate in this conference and pass our regards to the College of Human Resource, which is slowly transiting into the Human Resource University in Kenya. And moving forward, we are hoping that we will be getting more participants from our good College of the Human Resource. I thank you so much for your patience, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine, for your presentation and for your articulation on the responses that you are giving. We appreciate your time and for the patience. Sorry, forgive me, there is one which is very burning that you must answer.
Hello, Christine.
Hello.
Dr. Karanja, I think we have talked before. Now, I am a mathematician, and I'm very keen when it comes to measurements. And one of my colleagues did ask whether you have identified the key performance indicators. And I think the response was yes. To me, that is vital. Number two, how you are going to measure them, the metrics, because you are using quantitative data, therefore there might be need of very clear ways in which the performance is measured. And then I was also concerned because you are using correlation. What are you comparing? Is it the performance before the training and the performance after? So that maybe we can say the training had an effect. I don't know what you are.
The performance after the training.
So you have two sets of data, before and after.
After.
And that is what now you are using to carry out the correlation. And do you have thresholds that shows if the correlation coefficient is a certain number, then that indicates that the training had an impact. Otherwise, one would say it is by chance.
It's based on the p-values, the under and the over 0.5.
Up to 0.5. Okay. Maybe you may want to check on certain agreed thresholds, yeah, that can pass, that a certain treatment, as we call it in statistics, had an effect on the response, so that we don't base it on your own judgment, we base it on certain statistical figures. Then the last question, you said that this one you are doing it for G4S, yeah? And you are saying the results are very specific for G4S. How do you extend them, maybe to cover other organizations other than G4S?
Probably this might be beneficial for, let's say, organizations within the same industry as G4S, which is privately owned security companies that might benefit from this specifically compared to the other organizations.
Okay. Thank you, and we truly appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Christine. I need to protect you.
No, for correction. It's a body of knowledge. Communicate it correctly. For the benefit of actual audience.
There is a universal statement here, as I protect you, because no more questions to Christine now.
Yes.
So you can come over here.
Yes.
And you just make a statement,
Yes.
in a minute,
Yes.
And beyond that, I'm sorry, I'll cut you short. Yes.
Christine, thank you very much for your presentation. But I think I'm making this comment. We have our postgraduate student here. We have our colleagues, professionals in human resource and social sciences here. The point I want to clarify for the purpose of sharing knowledge accurately is that Dr. Karanja asked about the indicators of the performance indicators on the variables. We have the variables coaching, mentorship, internship, and job rotations. Now, the indicators you used, I think you had a threshold of 0 to 5. Again, I think the advice is we use a model or a tested standard. Okay? That notwithstanding is on the indicators you used for the 4 variables, we cannot generalize that the indicators for coaching can pass for mentorship. The one for mentorship can pass for internship, but the same for rotation. So there is need to individualize indicators per variable and analyze it to the final end. You cannot aggregate it because the effect of the 3 are not likely to be the same. So that the conclusion you will make will be based specifically on the rating of the indicators given under the 4 variables. That way then the outcome is likely to be verifiable because you are following specific indicators for specific variables. So I think I need to say that because we have our students here in the audience and other professionals in human resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the comment. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Guyo. Thank you very much, Christine, also for your presentation and for your patience. We appreciate you and being part of the MUSTIC 2023 conference. Feel free to join us any other time. The conference is still ongoing in the afternoon session. If you have time, we'll still be on for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be one of the participants in this conference. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much to the audience. Allow me not to take any further comments. However burning and pressing it might be, we are 15 minutes shy to the afternoon session, and lunch is served because long times are there. So please let us, we are going to break up for lunch, and as we break, let us remember we still have an afternoon session here. We've got our rapporteurs here. We've got quite interesting presentations that have taken place here. I was just looking at the program and I'm like, wow, this is a must to listen to. One of them is the nomenclature, or the rationale of naming. In this case, how do you name your child? You go Googling, giving your child a funny name. So please let us know how you name your child. I can see we have very many potential parents, including Gitonga. So make sure you are here to know how you're going to name your next child. We are also having very interesting on how we are having the Kuyu romance, you know, and matters romance, and it's very interesting. So we need to know how this is perpetuated between communities in terms of cultural aesthetics. So very interesting. We've got Ignatia here again, and we also have a number of mistranslations in the Bible. Can you believe that? Yes, we are having mistranslations in the Bible. For more, join us in the afternoon. Meanwhile, for me as the chair of the morning session, Dr. Makau Mutua.
Before you close, you know we had a session of discussion.
Yes, we have a session of discussion. I can allow you, Prof, to make a comment.
Yes.
A conclusive comment that before you make it, because in the interest of time, because I'm afraid if we enter into discussion, we'll be eating up into the afternoon session. You'll give him the mic. You can just make quick ones because I know we were to have that discussion, but I'm sorry the presenters became so many. But I don't want to lock out that. But I want to just appreciate all those who have attended the morning session, my rapporteur, colleague, Dr. Amos Chenge, all the participants, and all those who are here in the morning session. We are still back again in the afternoon, but before that time, allow me to allow the only professor around here and the director of postgraduate studies to quickly wrap up the discussion because we've not had the opportunity to have that time. Prof, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for all the presenters actually who presented in the morning, and very good presentations, and I think we are happy about that. Chair, I wanted to bring something out when Simon presented and Gitonga actually asked a question, and it had something to do with the predictions in terms of climate change and such. And I remember when Simone responded, she brought the issue actually of sustainability. And I think it's important that we start thinking about this. Actually, as we sit here now, I know there are a number of rivers actually which have dried within Meru. And what is happening is that the little water remaining has already been tapped and is being channeled, of course, to the houses and such, so that we are ending towards a place where there will be scarcity of water. That is real. And as we think about predicting and such, I think it's a high time also we thought about utilizing what is there. When it rains, of course, a lot of water just drains away, In the university, I know we have sewerage boards here. And when it rains, the community complains that we are draining them to the environment. And as researchers, that is an opportunity. And actually, where we are going, we have to start recycling the water that we are using. It will not be surprising that you go into the washroom and you find some water is running. I don't know how much we use the water we're using in the labs, and we are likely to be also spilling a lot of water. Because when we are told we are using the 6 million within a very short time, I think it should trigger into our mind so that as we think about the circular economy, I think it's a high time we revisit this issue of reuse, recycling again, because the water issue. When I was growing up, I couldn't imagine that you can buy water because water was free. And even when we learn new languages, we say the first language, the words you start learning, the statement is how to borrow water. That is how we grew. But now, you can be sure that the water we are using, we are buying. The water you use to drink, the water you use to wash your clothes and such. So I feel that it's a high time we rethink this issue about the circular economy, because it definitely is going to affect us a lot in that. A short one, the prediction, we had a number of people predicting and modeling and all that. And I want also to bring the attention, the curiosity of the audience. You know, they are very keen to hear. At the moment we bring results which will not be correct, you can imagine how many people get into the pit. So that as we use our mathematical models, it's also good that we test their validity to see how best they are suited. The ones that have used, we ask, where have they failed previously, so that as we bring in our new inputs, also we see that we are able to address the issues that came in that. So Chair, that's the one I felt that I needed to bring up, and thank you for the opportunity to bring my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let's appreciate Prof. Indeed, circular economy is the way to go, and it's the time we congregated together as researchers, academicians, students, communities, and also beneficiaries of the circular economy. So as together, we can be able to grow. That's it. Thank you very much. Have a very nice lunch. Bon appetit. Thank you.
Thank you.